Hello, Andreas. This is me, Lady Yurany. Yes, I am Lady, and I am here to talk about the reflection of my portfolio. I know that you might be tired. It's 23 students, so listening to us over and over again is hard. So I hope that I am one of the first people that you can listen so you don't get bored. And if I am one of the last one, well, you can grab a cup of coffee to get ready and listen to this reflection. So I'm going to divide this presentation into three different parts. The first one is what I knew before about research methods. The second one is it's about what I know now. And the third one is what I expect for the future to come in the classes and also in my personal process, which is very essential, as we mentioned in the previous course regarding andragogy. So I'm going to start with the first part, which is about what I knew before. I come from a background of education. So I studied foreign languages and I had to study as well pedagogy. So the research that I did for my thesis was based on action research. So I was a teacher in the classroom exploring a problem and trying to find a solution for the students. In this case, was related to the way students use storytelling, like the stories that I read to them, as a way to convey meaningful messages. So, what I could learn from that study, that was basically a mixed study because it was qualitative and quantitative, was the importance of teachers as being always reflecting and taking actions on the roles that they have. I also remember from that part reading a lot of literature, and of course, because it was qualitative, paying special attention to the context. And I would say one of the hardest part in this case, and that it is now, and I will talk about it a little bit more later on, was the quantitative side. So I would like to continue exploring and studying that part in that regard. So yeah, pretty much by that time I focused on action research and the qualities that it had. But by studying these masters and going back to the academia, I realized that there are way more approaches or research strategies that are important and that have been developed and structured along the years. So I'm going to go now to the present, so to what I know now in this regarding what I have learned along this course. So basically, as I was telling you at the beginning, I consider self-taught experiences as essential in this process. So along the course, I have been studying and reading some articles and also the posts of my classmates and the methodology of the program. So in this regard, I would like to mention. Of course, that I am more interested into qualitative research because it's the topic that I know more about, and I would like to continue learning about it. So, like the basic aspect of having a research based on this aspect that goes from identifying a research problem and then reviewing the literature, plus the purpose of the research, collecting the data, analyzing and interpreting the data, and also reporting and evaluating research are like the basic steps that, of course, I'm reading at the moment because I want to reflect on them a little bit more. So I would say that this has taken me back to what I knew and is refreshing my knowledge on what I want to continue doing. So one of the strategies that has worked well, for example, during this semester is the study group. I don't know if you have heard that here in Malta we have like a study group, and especially we did one for the process of the summary. So it was an idea that we had and that I consider that is very important because it's about this topic that we mentioned in the previous semester, which is community of learners. So in that regard, I could have a clear or a more clear grasp of what these summaries meant to be. So, for example, in this case, it was about understanding better, like the statement of the research problem, also some key concepts and the purpose of the study, which usually is explained in the text. But I would say that I am still struggling a little bit with the theoretical perspectives and assumptions because it takes more time from my side to analyze it and because I need to go deeper in that aspect. So I would like to continue, if possible, exploring that specific part with you because you are the expert on this regard. Of course, I can learn and I have been doing it through the books that you have suggested, but that specific aspect I consider to be important. So, in terms of the research strategy, I would like to mention that one of the posts that I enjoyed the most was the one about that, like when we had to post piece of learning, piece material that was audiovisual. So what I learned from that aspect is that it is better for me to concentrate when I can see that students are talking about feminism through graphics to videos, or that they are talking about action research, also about grounded theory, so narrative inquiry as well. So I consider that as a very, let's say, efficient tool that I hadn't thought before that much, and that I considered like that it has a lot more to explore. So going back to the study group, another topic that I want to mention that is important is like by studying with my classmates, I could make the difference, for example, or be aware of the role of the researchers because it goes beyond of reading the literature, establishing or identifying a problem, but it goes in the qualitative aspect, I would say, beyond, because it's about getting in contact with the participants, interviewing them, gathering information, also providing the participants with safe spaces, the topic of ethical issues, which is so essential and that I didn't consider that much when I was in their undergraduate program. So this course has allowed me to expand my vision on topics that I hadn't considered, and also like the role of the participants that goes beyond, being the person reporting or giving the information, and also the different types of participants, the data collection methods. And one that I consider super important is the data analysis procedure. So in this regard, I would like to say that although I know some parts, so as I was saying, in terms of data analysis procedure, I would say, okay, with the qualitative part, this could be a little bit easier because I have experience, but I would like to mention that it would be interesting for this course and also for the upcoming courses to focus a little bit more on the quantitative part, because I would say that there are not a lot of posts regarding that aspect and that are really essential to have like a better comprehension and how research work. I know that this is only for a semester, that the master's is not essentially focused on this part, but I consider this would be very important for future researches courses. So, in terms of what I want to do, I read different texts for the summaries. So I don't have clear yet the topic of my dissertation, but the topics that I've been reading are connected with what I studied and probably what I would like to do. So basically, I have been reading topics related to the following aspects. So one of the topics that I read about was about narrative inquiry and storytelling that is used as a pedagogical strategy, and narrative use as a research method. So this was very interesting for me because I always saw them separately, and it was mentioned also in one of the posts. But because I have been a teacher for a while, so I would like to continue exploring probably in my dissertation that type of approach, because I consider it to be very empowering. And I could notice that in the summary were teachers that at the beginning were being part of the study and were reflecting on social change with this teacher that was also doing the research with them, discovered that they what they were saying was or were stories, and the power of the stories that I have also seen in one of the courses this semester. So this connected as well with the topic of curriculum and how can I use this approach to design curriculums is very powerful for me. Also, I'm interested in the topic of feminism, or I would say in this case, female leadership, which is also portrayed by Beeman in the study. That is quantitative. So again, going back to quantitative research, I would say that I enjoy the text. I also learn about how important is the female presence to empower communities of women. But I would like to know more about those studies or those analyses that are concentrated on the quantitative part. And okay, so I'm not going to mention all the summaries because of the time, but the one about peace building coming from Colombia, that was the topic of my essay for coming here. So I would also like to explore like how through non-formal education I can contribute to peace in my country. That's the idea that I have, but I still don't have anything like super structure, and that's related to the last part of this video that is about the future. So in the future, what is coming for the next classes, what I expect to see is like to have a better structure of where I want to go, to continue exploring the different approaches, to continue learning from the qualitative and quantitative methods as well, and also getting more information of the books that you have suggested, because I have considered them really important. I haven't read, of course, a lot of them, but I have read some of them and they have helped me a lot. So I have here like a file with all the information that I have read, and that has been very fruitful. So I want to say thank you for this process, Andreas. I've been learning a lot also from my personal studies. I would like to have, a little bit more of what I mentioned before in the upcoming classes in order to have like a dissertation where I feel happy. So if we could talk more, just to conclude, about quantitative parts, if we can have a little bit more of on the topic that I mentioned, that it was about theoretical perspectives and assumptions and worldviews, because to me that's very essential to learn. And yeah, to continue having more group work, because in that way I can learn better. So thank you very much. I hope you're not sleeping at the moment. I know it's longer than expected, but I want to say thank you. Thank you. I really, really enjoy your classes, yeah, your personality, and all the knowledge that you have for us. Thank you.